Right. Have you ever looked at your cat curled up on the sofa, purring away like a little engine and just wondered, where on earth did you come from? I mean, really think about it. 1 minute, they are these fierce independent hunters, and the next, they are demanding belly rubs and getting tangled in our knitting wool. It is a bit bonkers, isn't it? For ages, the story of how cats went from wild predators to our fluffy flatmates was a bit of a mystery. We knew all about dogs and how we tamed them, but cats? They just seem to appear as if by magic, ready to be worshipped and fed. It is one of the best stories ever, a proper tale of friendship that started thousands of years ago. Honestly, it is a story that is just as charming and slightly chaotic as cats themselves. It is not a simple case of humans deciding they wanted a pet and just picking one up. Oh no, that is far too straightforward for a cat. The journey from a wild creature to the moggy demanding dreamies from your kitchen cupboard is a fabulous tale of mutual convenience, a bit of clever opportunism, and a whole lot of purring. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about family. Every cat, from the sleek Siamese to the scruffy tabby next door, can trace its roots back to one specific ancestor. It is not a lion, it is not a tiger, but a rather fabulous creature called the African wildcat. If you saw one, you would probably think it looks an awful lot like a regular tabby cat, just a bit leggier, and with that unmistakable wild glint in its eye. Its scientific name is Felis Silvestris Lybica, which sounds very grand, but just picture a very capable sandy-colored cat who is an absolute master of survival in the deserts and grasslands of Africa and the Middle East. They are brilliant hunters, super independent, and not exactly the type you'd scoop up for a cuddle. These wildcats were, and still are, solitary creatures. They spent their days hunting small rodents, birds, and lizards, and generally keeping to themselves. So, where and when did this amazing first meeting happen? Well, all the evidence points to a place called the Fertile Crescent, which is a big arc of land in the Middle East, covering parts of modern-day Iraq, Syria, and Egypt. This is where humans first properly got the hang of farming, about 10,000 years ago. It's here that we find the earliest clues of cats and humans starting to share the same space. Archaeologists have found cat bones buried near human settlements from this time, which is a massive giveaway. Or perhaps humans encountered cats even earlier, perhaps 20,000 years ago in the Sahara when it was green. However, further archaeological digs and studies need to be done to confirm this. But the most incredible discovery was made on the island of Cyprus. In a 9,500-year-old human grave, scientists found the complete skeleton of a cat buried right next to a person. Now this is just mind-blowing. The cat was not just any old cat, it was a young one about 8 months old, and it had been carefully placed in the grave. This tells us it was not just some random stray that had wandered in, it was clearly a companion, a creature that held some special meaning for this person. It is the earliest solid evidence we have for a close relationship between a human and a cat, and it's just so touching. It proves our bond goes back much, much further than we ever thought. Now, let's really get into why these cats were so brilliant for early humans. Before cats came along, trying to store grain was an absolute nightmare. You would work for months planting and harvesting your crops, and then you would put it all in a granary, only for an army of mice and rats to move in and have a feast. It was not just annoying, it was a disaster. Rodents could wipe out a village's entire food supply, leading to starvation. They also carried diseases, making them a serious threat to human health. Then, along comes the African wildcat. This creature was, quite simply, the perfect pest control solution. It was a specialist hunter of small rodents, genetically hardwired to be brilliant at it. They are silent, they are patient, and they have those incredible senses, the sharp hearing, the night vision, that make them lethal predators in the dark. A single cat could happily take care of the rodent population around a farmstead, protecting the precious food stores that the entire community depended on. They did not need to be trained or told what to do, they just did what came naturally to them. It was a game changer. The impact of this must have been huge. Suddenly food supplies were more secure, villages could grow larger and more stable. The health of the community improved because there were fewer disease-carrying rodents running around. So this brilliant partnership was not just about business. It quickly blossomed into a genuine friendship. While the cats were busy keeping the granaries rodent-free, people started to notice all the other wonderful things about them. They are incredibly clean animals, constantly grooming themselves, which would have been a big plus for living in close quarters. It was in ancient Egypt that this relationship reached its peak. The Egyptians did not just like cats, they revered them. They saw cats as magical creatures, embodiments of grace and protectors against evil. The goddess Bastet, who was one of their most beloved deities, was often depicted with the head of a cat. People would mummify their pet cats when they died, burying them with tiny mice mummies so they'd have something to hunt in the afterlife. It is just incredible how much they adored them, and from Egypt, their fame spread. As trade routes opened up across the Mediterranean and beyond, cats became highly prized cargo. Sailors loved having them on board ships to control the rat population, which protected their food supplies and the ropes of the ship from being chewed through. This is how cats traveled the world. They hitched a ride on Roman galleys, Viking longships and explorer vessels, landing on new continents and immediately setting to work, charming a whole new set of humans. They offered a quiet, calming presence in a chaotic world. The simple act of stroking a purring cat is incredibly soothing, and people thousands of years ago must have felt that just as we do today. This emotional connection is what truly turned them from useful animals into beloved pets. The practical arrangement that started in a dusty grain store had transformed into a deep, affectionate bond that now spans the entire globe. Here is the really fascinating bit that makes cats so different from dogs. While dogs have been actively bred by humans for thousands of years to perform specific tasks, herding, hunting, guarding, cats have had a very different journey. For most of their history with us, they have not been selectively bred for anything other than perhaps being a bit friendlier and maybe having a nice coat. This means that, genetically, the little cat purring on your lap is still remarkably similar to its wild ancestor, the African wildcat. They are, in many ways, still wild animals at heart, which I think is just brilliant. This explains so much about their behavior. It is why they still have such strong hunting instincts, even when they have a full bowl of food. That little chatter they do at the window when they see a bird, that is pure, undiluted predator instinct. Unlike a dog, a cat does not necessarily see you as its pack leader or master. The relationship is more one of equals, of mutual convenience and affection. We provide food and shelter, and they provide companionship. On their own terms, of course. This wild streak is, I think, a huge part of their appeal. We have not completely molded them to our will. They retain a sense of mystery and autonomy that is captivating. You do not ever truly own a cat. You just have the privilege of sharing your home with one. They choose to be with us, and that makes their affection feel all the more special when they bestow it upon us. When a cat curls up on your lap and starts to purr, it feels like a genuine choice, a gift freely given, not an act of trained obedience. So while we call them domesticated, it is probably more accurate to say that cats are semi-domesticated. They have one paw firmly in our world and one paw still dipped in the wild. This beautiful duality is what makes them such endlessly fascinating companions. And that's the real magic of cats, isn't it? They walked into our lives on their own 4 feet, chose to stay, and have never let us forget that it was their decision all along. And we wouldn't have it any other way.
Thank you for watching. Hope you found this video informative and entertaining. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment. We do like to know and hear your feedback. And if you have the means, please consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can get early access to our videos, and where we post bonus material. Till next time, this is Geeky Tidbits saying cheers and have a good day.